All right, so let me ask you, if you had no desire to see a movie, or had read some reviews, as usually they come out before a movie comes out or is released, and you had no desire to watch it, would you still watch it? So that's a big question. And when reading the review of from GameStop of the Justice League Snyder Cut, or I guess the however they're naming it, I guess, on HBO Max. From reading the review of that, because I did read it before I watched the movie. You would think, well, for one, if you read that, basically you would think, man, I'm never going to see that movie because it's horrible. They gave it a 3 out of 10. I mean, that's and and as I was reading this, really the main thing that I kept on thinking was this guy either, for one, had no desire to ever watch the movie, or he's being so overly critical that basically he's biased in it, and he shouldn't be giving the review for the movie anyway. So I just want to kind of talk on that a little bit today, and I guess toward the end we'll kind of talk overall of why I think, in general, I think movie reviews, I think in a lot of way are almost pointless. Not quite, but almost. All right, so let's get right into this lovely topic. So, obviously, I mean, most likely, I mean, almost everyone has at least seen that it was coming out at some point. That the Justice League movie, Zack Snyder started it, left for, and honestly, I have no idea. I think it was the death of a family member. So very, 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 very sad and tragic time for that. And then a very reasonable excuse, or not excuse, very reasonable reason, I guess, to leave something like that, to leave a big project, because obviously I can imagine that a directorial role would take a lot, and it would take a lot of time. So he left. Josh Whedon took over, and it is what it is. Movie wasn't too bad. Honestly, I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was, but I definitely didn't think it was great. And a lot of, obviously, it's superhero stuff, it's comics, so everyone wants to compare it to MCU. And comparatively, you can't compare the two. The Marvel and the MCU has a good formula, and for what they are, they're awesome, and I love them. I love all those movies. But anyways, yeah. So, but as you know, obviously since then, from what has been 4 years now, everyone wanted the Snyder Cut, because it was put out that, and I don't know if it was from him or from inside leaks. I don't know, from actors, that the version that Zack Snyder wanted to do was very different and was more fleshed out, and yeah. So, anyways, yeah, there's a little bit of backstory. It's out. It came out, and so yeah, a day or two before I watched it, I saw this review on GameStop, and it kind of built upon a little bit when I talked on the Bravely Default review, that the individual reviewing Bravely Default 2 was just gave it, in my opinion, a very bad score. It goes into that a bit more, and I saw that, and I saw it a 3 out of 10. I did try to look up what their original score was or what the score was for the original Justice League, and I have the article pulled up that is the review, but I can't find an actual score for it, so I honestly don't know. But the review itself for the original one, and we'll pull it up here as we're talking about it, is, well, the kind of the title Justice League Review is a fresh start, and then by I don't even know, it's Michael someone. So kind of goes into a little bit. It's it's not a bad review. It's not saying it's great, but just kind of saying, let's go to that down at the very bottom. We'll just go over the goods and the bads. So good, fantastic cast of heroes, surprisingly funny, plentiful character development for an ensemble, and Aquaman. So obviously he's an Aquaman fan. Bad, flat villain, distracting CGI, sometimes moves too quickly. All very valid points, and that was a big one for the villain. Was he was just done bad. CGI was probably I would say, yeah, the worst part of that movie. And yeah, in a lot of ways, the movie itself, I would say, is bad, or not great, in the sense that, and I'll even say it for the Snyder Cut as well, that they're trying to make this ensemble movie without having the basis already. And that's the biggest thing. And I know people have said it before, and I'll say it again, that to have a movie where you're having all of these characters come together, you have to have the backstory with it, and that's, I mean, and yeah, I'm going to compare it to Marvel because that's what they do. You had Thor, you had Iron Man, you had oh shoot, I guess kind of the Hulk. I do think they consider the Edward Norton one part of the MCU. So you had a lot of these backstories already in play, and then they made the Avengers movie. And yeah, they had some, Hawkeye's in there, Black Widow's in there, and yeah, you don't have a ton of character development. But then, again, well, they're good at storytelling for that. And I believe Josh Whedon made that, so he had that to work with. So he made this one, and the one of the biggest things, like it says, moving too quickly. It's you introduce new characters that some people have no idea who they are. I mean, Aquaman is fairly popular, but most people may not know who he is. The Flash is very popular, but there's so much that you could do with the Flash that you got to give him a backstory. You can't just spring it in there and be part of this other movie with this full cast. And then Cyborg I would say is a fairly unknown unless you are into the comics and the source material. And so having that, and that was my biggest problem with the whole thing, is they basically try to jump the gun. They try to, they try to compete with Marvel just right out of the gate versus trying to build it up like they should, So, anyways, that was that. But again, not a bad review. It's like one of the quotes says, as not trying to solve all the genre's problems, and it doesn't. So there we go. It's a fairly honest review, and it's not bad. So, let's get over to the Snyder Cut review. 3 out of 10. Just in and of itself, the heading, the title of the article is relentlessly boring and endlessly long. So right off the gate, you already know basically he was not happy with it. He thought it was boring and it was long. Okay, so let's go down before we kind of get into some of the meats of it. Let's get into the good and the bad of it. So again, gives it a 3 out of 10, and says good, added context for Steppenwolf, making him a decent villain. Very true. New cyborg scenes work to flesh out Victor Stone in interesting ways. Again, is true, though at the same time, again, you shouldn't have to give a lot of these main characters backstory in an ensemble movie. They should already be established, and then you build on what's already been established. But then 4-hour runtime feels endless. Okay, added scenes for Flash and Aquaman are clunky. Encourage soundtrack choices get old very quickly. Horrible VFX, looks cheap, dated video game cutscenes, and new characters like Iris West are given no dialogue or point in the plot. Again, I will agree on that point. Though same time, just like it is, you're trying to give a backstory to something when it shouldn't need it. Now, let's get into why I think that this is an extremely biased review and just in general shouldn't be done. Okay, for one, 4 hours, yeah, it is a long runtime. Everyone knows it. So for one, it shouldn't be a point on the bad in general. And we'll kind of touch on that runtime here in a little bit of, well, I guess the problematic nature of it. It's added scenes. I mean, honestly, it's going to be a very opinionated thing, which obviously a review is an opinion. So you can't really say that. Can't say much on that, though. I would say they're not. If anything, those scenes, especially, because I would say that's coming from where we are now in terms of the Aquaman movie is out for one, and we've seen a bit more of the Flash, and I even think on the TV show Flash, you have this version, the Ezra Miller version on the TV show. So it's like more about these characters. And so, but if you were to go in the mindset of having this version, which was supposed to be that original version to an extent, those extra scenes for the Flash and Aquaman made it so much better. It actually gave some context to them. Soundtrack, I would say it was different. I wouldn't say it got old, and I would say it added a lot more personality to each of the characters and how it was very different. Though I can see how some people wouldn't like it. It just kind of depends on the preference, I would say, for that. And then this is the point that I think is the funniest because it is complete and utter. I'm part of my French, but bullshit. All right, horrible VFX, horrible special effects look like cheap, dated video game cutscenes. Okay. Now, if you were, well, actually, I would want to know because I don't think, the author of this one isn't the review of the original one. So he may have thought the same thing on the first one. But the fact they put on here is the bad. The special effects on all these cutscenes and all this stuff are I mean 100 times better and betterly done versus the original. I mean, I think it's almost universal that that is the case. Again, obviously, if you don't like the film, you're going to scrutinize it. If you didn't like the first one, you're going to scrutinize it. But in the rare event that you do like the first one more than this one, again, you're going to think you're going to make those comparisons. Again, it's going to happen. There is no right or wrong answer. But just to say for one that looks like cheap dated video game cutscenes, I mean, what video games is this guy playing? For one, it is ridiculous. I mean, for what is he trying to compare it to like the latest and greatest of from the PS5? Yeah, maybe he's working. They're working with outdated or not outdated. They're working with existing cutscenes and existing what was it footage to spruce it up. There's only so much you could do for a movie that was mediocre at best. But anyways, yeah. So for you, it goes into it. I won't get into do all this. But yeah, basically, he hates the 4:3 aspect ratio, which again I wasn't a fan of it, but I do believe that was like a specific choice to kind of give for the feel of the picture. And honestly, I thought it did well with it. It's crazy. It's crazy that this they basically pick this thing apart. And then also actually, and I'll touch on this, that they do make a movie or a little slideshow movie of comparisons between the two. And again, I don't know if it's the same guy that did this new review or someone. I do believe it's someone else, but then it doesn't really it makes it a better light. So it just lends more credibility, I think, to the fact that this guy had either no desire to watch this movie, no desire to review it, but did anyway because whatever, and it could be, hey, his boss made him, so you do what you got to do. But the fact that he basically just tore this thing apart for no better reason because he didn't want to see it or he didn't like the style it was in is, I don't know, it just gives it a disservice. And that brings me to the point of that. For one, and in my opinion, movie reviews, TV show reviews, honestly are almost pointless in general because, I mean, I do if they're very, I think actually maybe it's just a scoring system. If they were just to give a review saying, hey, this is what we think is good about it, this is what we think is bad about it, you can decide and you can go see it for one. Because obviously that's what they're there for. They're there to tell the consumer, hey, should you see this or should you not? But it's a crappy way to live. I mean, why would you base off your decision off someone else's opinion? Like, granted, yeah, you could take things into account, sure, I mean, obviously, the stuff I'm saying here is an opinion, you can take it into account or not. But, if you think something looks cool, think something looks fun, you see a trailer, say, cool, no, yeah, that looks all right, that looks like it could be fun. TV show, movie, games, try it out. Go, for movies and TV shows, it's almost a no-brainer. Like, you're not spending, even if you go to the movie theaters, you buy it for $15 on DVD or Blu-ray, you subscribe to the HBO Max, you're not that much money for seeing something if you don't like it. I just thought it was funny because they just tore something apart really for no reason. So and I briefly wanted to mention how I mentioned earlier for that whole 4-hour runtime, and this is what I think is the core problem with the DC universe in general is that if it needs to have 4 hours, plus a few minutes to properly tell a movie and to tell a story, it shouldn't be done. Okay, I mean, yeah, like I think the extended cuts of like Lord of the Rings, some of those can get up to that, but at the same time, those movies are awesome. I think it's almost universally accepted that the movies are high quality. They stand up today. I mean, I think what the first one is 21 years ago now that it came out, and I mean that movie is still amazing. I'll still watch it, and you don't feel like it's dated at all. So having extra of that. Absolutely. But a movie that was mediocre, was mixed reviews, and it stemmed to this whole thing where you had to make this Snyder Cut to give it the justice it deserved, which I do think it helped it a lot, and it made it actually a decent movie. But to need 4 hours to do so means that, for one, too much content. They should have done have went the route of, okay, establish these characters first, make the Flash movie that they're making now, make have that Aquaman movie come out first, and then well, Wonder Woman I think was already out. Batman, that's one I'll make it. I'll let it slide. You don't need a Batman as with Ben Affleck, because the character, they have so many movies, it's already established. You can ignore almost all of his backstory, and most people will still know what he is. Again, Superman, already established. And that's why those characters didn't have as much screen time, because they're trying so hard to get these other characters and this other lore into place when it should be done on a solo movie, and then you can just tie it in, piece it together more, and have it all come together like this movie would have done, and it would have been awesome, and it would have been a regularly, I guess, length of a movie, and honestly, I think it would have been awesome. It would have been really good, but I don't know. Just kind of a rant on my part a little bit, but I hate when people tear something apart for no reason other than they didn't like it, and they try to I guess for something like this, it's a very public forum, and it's a very public site that is viewed a lot. It can hold some weight, and so I feel like it's doing it a disservice. And yeah, just want to talk about it a little bit. But let me know in the comment section if you watched it. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you like that runtime? I didn't think it was too bad, but it was long. I think I did it in 2 sittings to watch it all. But yeah, other than that, haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We are in the single digits to hit that 50 subscribers. As of right now, I think I'm at 41, so close. Again, once we hit that 50, we'll do a giveaway. You'll have a chance to enter in and win a prize of gift card, a game, something. I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do it that way of how to deliver it, that kind of thing. But yeah, till the next time, we'll talk to you guys later.